She is a speaker, life strategist, podcaster, and author. Her story is incredible. After healing herself from many traumas of sexual, emotional, mental, and physical abuse, a near-death experience during the war in Bosnia, forced marriage, toxic relationships, and living on the street, she was incredible to change completely her life, connecting to her true self, having the power to make her own choices, overcoming her many fears, and finding self-esteem, building self-confidence, and becoming this incredible being, helping women all around the world to doing the same. So I just can't wait to pick your brains. How did you get here? Hi, Billy. How are you?
Good morning. I'm so well. Thank you for having me here. And how did I end up here? Yes, you invited me. So thank you very much. Yeah, it is a bit of a journey, and just hearing you reading that out, like, wow, it's sort of, I actually get goosebumps when I hear that. And yeah, it's a bit of a journey. It certainly
Yeah.
is a bit of a journey. So thank you so much for having me here. And as you said, like, let's talk about this and let's support other people out there who really needs to hear this message. And yeah.
I think that, when you go through, especially like, the abuse as children, as, like with people that, you're supposedly to trust the most. I have seen in the time that I have worked with people, that is probably one of the most challenging things to overcome.
Mm.
And you should be so proud of yourself. And I think that people that are listening to this, even when I was reading, I'm like, I'm thinking to myself, like, how can people go through all of this? Right?
Mm.
How can they even begin to heal? So how do you begin to heal? How do you make that decision after, potentially like, reaching, that point in life that, I can't keep going on like this? How do you begin to heal?
Mm. Such a great question. And before I start to answer that question, if I just may say, whoever is listening that has been sexually abused or went through any type of trauma, I just want to express my sorry, to say that I'm deeply sorry for what you have gone through. And I feel you, I hear you, I see you. And Ange, as you said, like it's a challenging thing. It's a challenging thing to overcome, to work through. It's a journey. It's a process. This is not a destination. So once we sort of decide to work on ourselves, it is a journey. So for me, I feel that I actually really lived disconnected for so many years. So I feel that you don't really know when you're going to change yourself. For me, and I will just actually, because I know how I felt for most of the time or years of my life, I was really conditioned and lived on autopilot.
Mm-hmm.
Later on, I learned I was actually so much on survival mode.
Mm-hmm.
I was so disconnected. I did things what just helped me to survive rather than dig deeper and look really what's going on. I realized when I started my healing journey that I was so much lonely, that I actually did have PTSD, that I was chronically diagnosed for depression. I had panic attacks, anxiety, all of these things. But you somehow think that is part of my life. That's norm, which is not. Which is not. So for me, when did I begin my journey of transformation is when I really hit the rock bottom.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
I think for majority of people, maybe going through after trauma, after any type of abuse, it's you will do so many different things.
Mm-hmm.
And what do I mean by that? It's you can go out there, be angry at yourself, be angry at others. I'm now describing myself, be rude to others, tear everybody down because you're angry within yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Do all of these not so nice things. I found medication as a numbing agent in my life. So until I really hit the rock bottom.
Yeah.
And then you think, okay, and that's sort of pathway in your life. You hit the rock bottom, and you can decide to be better, do better, or just
Keep doing.
give up in my instance. So
Yeah.
keep going or just, so that's pretty much how I sort of went, what I've gone through to really, when I hit the rock bottom, thinking, okay, are there any reasons for me to keep working on me and keep
Mm.
doing? And so it's very challenging to say, well, that we do have the desire to live, because it depends how long
Mhm.
you are ruminating on that story. I
Mhm.
mean, like, after the trauma, it's really, it changes who you are. The belief system is created based on the trauma at that time. So you feel that you are still in that fear, in that scarcity. So you will always find anything to say to yourself to support the way how you're feeling.
Yes. Yeah. To make yourself believe that your whatever your mind is saying, and it's the truth, right? Because you kind
Yes.
of, which is insane. And what you're saying here, like, it's very interesting. Like, on my in-person event this week, I was just saying, like, I would love to say that when I decided to heal myself, that I woke up one day and thought, I want to live, and I was so in love with myself, and I wanted to live, but I couldn't do that, because the same as you, in the sense of, I had been living in survival mode for so long. When they told me I had stage 3 bowel cancer, was like, what is actually going to motivate me to change here? And my kids were that motivation, because at the time I couldn't do it for myself.
Yeah. And I bet you sooner you found out, well, actually, this is journey for me. I'm doing it for me.
Yeah.
Because that was similar instance with myself. Like, what can I now hang on to pull me out of that ditch to move forward? Well, I'm grateful. I had my beautiful daughter, and at the time she was tiny. She was like a few years old, and then I thought, okay, she is my reason. She
Mhm.
is my reason to live. And defining moment in my life was when I really wanted to not to pursue with my life. I don't even know what words can we actually use on social media. So
Yeah.
I felt like, okay, this is it with me. And then she appeared in my room. She just walked in,
Oh.
and something went through me. And I said to myself, well, if I'm no longer here, who is going to look after my girl? So this was the pivoting moment in my life where I never went back to think any other way but what is my next step to keep moving forward, to work on me.
Mhm.
And she was the reason to start off with, but sooner I've realized, actually, this is for me.
Yeah.
This is for me.
That's beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love the title of your book. You are not alone. I feel that whenever you are going through, a trauma, or I know a particular, a challenging life, that a lot of us just feel alone, right? Like, we feel, regardless of what it is. Like, when you thought about the title, what was it, what kind of was the idea behind it?
When I came up with the title, I think the title was maybe the last thing that I came up with.
Yes.
And to start off with, when I write the book, I really did not have the intention of writing the book. I was actually writing every thought down on the paper, describing every event that I can actually think of that made me really angry, upset, fearful, where I was shamed or ashamed of, guilty. So I think after I wrote everything down, at the time, my psychologist, she said to me, I feel this can actually be now, a great book. And that's when I started to thought, okay, it could be. And when I was thinking of okay, what to name it, I felt that going into journey of, seeking some help for myself to come back to life, I felt that I was alone.
Yeah.
And but after few months, or some good few months, you realize that people are willing to help the moment we open our voice, the moment we speak up. and say something, people are there to help you. And
Mhm.
then the more you sort of open up, then you actually find people that they have been in similar situations. So
Yeah.
it actually opened the gateway for me to realize, well, I'm not alone. There are
Yeah.
many people, but for as long as we're keeping silent
Mhm.
and not saying anything, no matter what you're going through, whatever,
Yes.
no matter what you have experienced, for as long as you're keeping silent, you will think that you're alone.
Mhm.
But the moment you speak up and talk about things, then you realize, well, I'm not alone. You
Yeah.
are not alone. So if anything, I don't know whether, people believe in that higher power or anything. I
Yeah.
do believe in God. For me, it was me and the God for very, very long time. And
Yeah.
then you actually realize, hey, there are other amazing people that are willing to support you, that are willing to be there on your journey, and to really endure together. It's sort of hand in hand, let's walk together.
I think what you said there is so important. Like, we live in a society that, although there is a lot of talks about emotional healing and trauma, and and people getting connected more to our emotional and mental side. Of course, in mental health these days is a massive issue. And I think a big part of it is that the more you stay in silence and you isolate yourself, even though, and that means, because I did that too, you can go to work, you can go and see people, but if you're not speaking
Mhm.
out loud what's going on in your life, how are anyone going to be able to help you?
Yeah.
Right? And we live in this society that we got so much pressure around us. Yeah, there is all this, trauma and emotional stuff, but if you say anything, you're a weak person.
Yeah.
You are not strong enough. Don't be vulnerable. There is still that, like, underlying stigma, but I have found that is such a big part of healing, right? You have, like I said, when you open yourself up, the next step comes up, the next step, and the next step.
Mm. So true, so true. And again, I'll actually just speak um, on, for survivors of sexual abuse. Why do we stay silent? Because we have been conditioned to believe that it's our fault.
Yeah.
So we sort of grow up, well, for me it's sort of growing up with that from age of 6 to almost 18. So you are growing up, you're conditioned that way, that it is your fault, I've done something wrong. So you really don't want to say anything later on, because it is my fault. So if any of the survivors would maybe reach out for help, and people, they don't believe them, or let's say, per se, you have your child and comes to you and says, well, mommy, something happened to me. I said, oh, come on, she or he is such a nice person. No, that's not possible. It actually, it's now, the doubt again, well, no one trusts me. Okay, so it must be my fault. I've
Hmm.
done something wrong. So that's one reason why I actually stayed silent. And the connection with shame.
Yes, the connection with shame.
Shame is a huge thing. So of course, like, hey, it is my fault. So why would I say
Hmm.
what really went on in my life? Because it's such a terrible thing. Like, I might be, or I must be such a bad person
Yeah. Yeah.
that something like that happened to me. I
Mhm.
invited it. So again, this is another thing for anyone that has gone through abuse, to know that it is not your fault.
Yeah.
It is not, whether that happened once in your teens or adult years or as a child, or how many times. It's not your fault. It
Hmm.
is not your fault.
Yeah. How and I have worked with clients in the past that have suffered from sexual abuse from close family members. How do you, and there was exactly that feeling, the shame, and I can't say it because what, will bring shame to my family. How do you um put that this is not my fault into action? Because knowing instinctively that it's not your fault. I think as a child, it's not your fault, but it's kind of almost like you're pushed to believe that it is your fault. And how do you move from there in an action base as an adult? Like, this is actually, I'm confident to say I've got the courage to say this is not my fault, and I don't want to live in that prison anymore.
Yeah. Such a great question, Ange. How do you know? Well, it will be maybe many years that that you don't know.
Yeah.
Because in my instance, again, I grew up with that belief. So somehow I did believe that it was my fault. And however, even though people would say to me, it's not my fault, until I started to believe that.
Yeah.
I still felt that it is my fault.
Yeah.
So that is the process again of the healing. The side effects of trauma, the symptom of trauma, it's low self-esteem, low self-worth, the belief about yourself. So if we have the symptom of trauma as a low self-worth,
Yeah.
that's something that we need to work on.
Yeah.
And again, it is one step at the time, one day at the time, to really rebuild our belief system, to
Yeah.
really remind ourselves, to have people around us that it is not our fault, to really, and this is environment, it's such a huge part in any journey, any journey of transformation or any growth, or in business, personal life, wherever you are.
Yeah.
Environment so much matters. So being surrounded with people to really support you of that journey, for you to reach out to professionals, to people that can actually help you.
Yeah.
So over the time, you can rebuild that trust within yourself, because self-worth means that, feeling good about yourself within, inside, and that you are believing that you are deserving love and acceptance from others.
Yeah.
So it is a journey, but it's very important to keep reminding yourself, it is not my fault. And maybe going back, and that's why I actually journaled so much, to the point that I actually got afterwards, to get my book published. So through that journey of putting things down and writing things down, I would maybe think of the stories and like, hey, it is not my fault. I have been told. So if you have been told, or if you started saying to yourself without no one telling you, it's to go back to that time, to really think of that time and start to rewrite your new story, to rewrite your new chapter.
Yeah, I think journaling, like writing, is a very powerful. And research shows that when you're writing, you're not only engaging in the new information, kind of like, if you're absorbing information, but you're also releasing, right, of the trauma. Like I remember when I first started my journey towards forgiveness, and we talked about that before. I wrote things down, like what was I angry about, and I just wrote in bullet points at first, and it got down to 12 years of resentment and anger were down to 5 bullet points.
Yes.
Because our mind is so crazy that, like I said, it just keeps going on with these stories. But when you start writing them down, and there is an energetic release as well when you're writing down. I can imagine for you, when you started writing it down, because it was a book, right? Like you felt tired, and you felt like also like almost like relief, right? You probably even felt sick, right? Like a cold and a cough, because there's so much of this energies in the body, right? The trauma.
Yeah, all of that. I have actually experienced all of that, and no wonder why many people will say, well, I don't like journaling.
Yeah.
Because then you see things for what they are. You sometimes cannot believe what you're writing. And I would always say, if you're scared to speak up, then start writing it down. There is no judgment from the paper. Paper doesn't speak back to you to tell you anything bad about you. It doesn't judge you. So for me, journaling, it is actually pathway or gateway, for my healing as well, because you empty everything. And sometimes you might say, well, I cannot remember many things. That's so true, because for me, like, I started just writing what I felt maybe in that moment, that I was so angry with myself, with the person who did it to me, and all of these things. And before you know, you are remembering so many things.
Yeah.
And that's very important. For me, it was very important to really empty the bucket, because if I have been suppressing all of these emotions and feelings and everything, and repressing and depressing, that's where my depression came from all of this suppression over the years. How can I actually put something new? How can I actually put the belief of, hey, I'm worthy now, I am enough, I am good, it is not my fault, if I'm
You've
still
always
living with all of these beliefs from before that y- that I just accumulated with all the pain.
yeah.
So it is very important to empty the bucket out and then start putting things, what actually is going to serve us in our life, personally and professionally. I keep saying this because, many people, like I work with so many people that are entrepreneurs, that are coaches, professional people. And once they get stuck, it could be some underlying way of trauma that we really parked it somewhere and we haven't touched for years because we thought, hey, we came through this, we overcome it, but you really have to go through it.
Yeah.
It will pop up. It will pop up. If you are listening to this, if you're watching this, if you feel that you just sparked something without resolving,
Yeah.
in some ways it will pop up, and that way could be the anger or
Mm.
hurt or sadness or feeling some type of grief or shame or guilt. it
Yeah.
it will pop up.
Yeah, I like the way that you describe. Like, I thought I just put my anger in a little box and I just closed with a key and I put it inside me. I was like, that's it. It's closed. I'm never gonna open this again. And that little box became like a tumor. Like we think that we can be more clever than the body, but we can't, because the body really, like you're talking about, it stores all of that information. And I love what you said about rewriting your story, because you are actually almost like recoding your mind, subconscious mind, and your body, right? Because if you just live for your mind just take you places here, there, and everywhere, and you keep going around in circles. You're not getting anywhere because you're not focused on the right things.
Correct. And body keeps the score.
Yeah.
And every physical part of your body has that mental imprint, that emotional imprint. And I think that we were actually talking the other day
Yeah.
on your interview as well, that emotional imprint. So if there is a pain on your chest, on your hips, on your knees, shoulders, wherever it is, it represents something emotionally. And with that, I actually would like to share this. For years, I actually had pain in my knees. And
Hmm.
as a child, I remember being taken to so many doctors, being injected with so many injections for my pains and knees and everything and whatever it happened. Fast forward so many years, when I started to learn and started to go through my healing journey, when I learned that emotions are stored in our body, well, I looked into it. So the emotions in my knees was fear of moving forward. So then I thought, okay, what can I do in here? I can start releasing that fear, what I was afraid
Yeah.
of. Where is that fear? Let's embrace that fear. Let's move through the fear.
Yeah.
Let's question it. Let's become the friend with the fear.
Yes. Yes.
And that's when I started to reprogramming myself on a deeper level, to the point that I had been told that I'll never run, that I shouldn't be running,
Mhm.
many, many things. Again, fast forward today, I'm a marathon runner.
Yeah.
So I proved doctors or people that they felt, and to all respect, to every professional
Yeah.
out there, but that was my journey. And of course they were actually looking for my safety at the time, because of course maybe the way how I showed up, they thought, oh, she's really messed up,
Yeah.
you better don't do anything. But I proven to myself that I can do it.
Yeah.
How did I do that? It's really rewriting my story, rebuilding my new identity. Who is that Billy that is a runner?
Yeah.
And at the time I was not a runner, but I believed, I was saying to myself that I'm runner. I associated with people that called me a runner. So when going back to how do you come out of believing that it's not your fault?
Yeah.
Change that
Yeah.
story, change that story. And even though you'll think, oh, but I don't believe it, it's okay. It is okay. One thing is, the truth is not that it's your fault. So for just starting off with the new story, like, tell yourself a better lie. Lie to yourself that,
Yeah.
that was not your fault until you believe that it was not your fault.
And I think what the example that you gave there, it's so important to highlight, because people, they think like, well, how do I go from like, I don't feel I'm worthy, I feel, I'm the person to blame, I'm ashamed, of myself, whatever. Those little things sitting on the outside, I am not a runner, I'm not fit, but just by changing this, which is a physical thing, right? Like in this case, like and it's starting to work on your physical health, and you trust yourself, and you believe that you can be a runner, you start changing this.
Yes.
Right? Which is the self-worth and the self-esteem and the courage and to believe in yourself.
Yes, and that's such a great illustration that you're pointing out. So being from from here to here, there is actually an invisible bridge.
Yeah.
So if we are and what does it take for us to start working on ourselves? It's by making that decision. Decide that you want to change.
Yeah.
That is the great start. If I was to think what else and what else and what do I need to go through and whatever, I would not move anywhere. So there is invisible bridge, and few things that I talk about in that invisible bridge. If you are right now sitting in the pain in silence and blaming yourself, and you want to be on the other side to feel that confident person, to with that unshakable self-esteem and confidence to be unstoppable, decide that you want that confidence. Choose.
Yeah.
And once you choose and decide, then we need to become a little bit courageous.
Yeah.
Without courage, we will not get that confidence. We will not gain that self-esteem.
Yeah.
And courage means, okay, whatever comes my way, I will actually need to work through. And just look what's front of you. Don't think ahead. Oh my goodness, I have to work with this. Or do I really have to forgive my perpetrator? Do I need none of that?
Yeah.
So to start off with, I would just love to share, it's, have that self-compassion for yourself. And I actually divided this in quite a few categories. It's creating that inner safety. Inner safety, it's very important for anyone going through any trauma, specifically in this area, because for a very long time, or for that time, whenever it happened, we felt very, very unsafe.
Yeah.
So creating that inner safety, meaning like having that compassion for yourself, looking after yourself, working on those inner beliefs and everything. Self-care, it's a huge area. So in that, it's meditation, breathing, forgiveness, letting go, changing the diet. For me, that was also one thing. Exercise. So many things in that category of creating that inner safety, whatever it's in your control. The other thing is changing your story, the words that we do say now. So sometimes, sadly, we like to stay in that victim state.
Yes.
And it's poor me, and look what happened to me. And I'm all for victim state for a short period of time. But get out of it, because in that state, you will not do much.
No.
So for me, rather than thinking, oh, that happened to me, I would actually say, okay, that happened for me. What can I learn?
Yeah.
And you can only reach, again, in my situation, maybe somebody will say, well, no, Billy, I don't agree with you. And that's perfectly fine. In here, it's not like, to be on my side, or, just take whatever it works for you. But for me is many of those things happen once I've done forgiveness.
Yeah.
So once I've done forgiveness and forgave the person, forgave myself, you create that inner peace, that you're now looking at the things without the fogginess. You're not looking at the things with the anger.
Yeah.
And then you can sit down and rewrite your story. Okay, if that happened for me, what is my advantage? Why? What is that? What did that give me? So for me, I feel that I actually really build that endless what is the word? Resilience.
Yes.
the empathy that I do have for people.
Yeah.
You don't go to library or anywhere to pick up the book or buy the book and learn how is to be empathetic and
No.
compassionate person. It comes through your life journey. So when you start dotting all of these things,
Yeah.
and then for me the bonus was, hey, now I can actually help and support somebody on the deeper level of where they're stuck,
Yeah.
doing exactly what I have done.
Yes. That's so beautiful. You've said so many things there. Like there are things like the empathy and the, and in relation to, if you don't find that forgiveness, if you don't release that energy, it takes so much energy to keep that, right? Like to keep the shame, to keep the anger, to keep whatever you keep inside of you, that you are left with no energy to do anything else, right? Like, so you stay in this confined space. But once you forgive, you don't realize that, wow, like I have so much more energy. I have so much more compassion towards myself, towards all. I can relate to people in other, I see people, there is so much anger in the world right now, right? There's people that they spend their time fighting on social media, on comments and things like that. So you can see that they are hurting. And that is a kind of like a side effect of keeping all of the anger and of dealing with that, right? Or like I said, if you the empathy to others, if you're keeping the anger, all you're going to be doing is just go and complain about everything. You go to the shop, you complain. You go somewhere else, you complain. You're always finding issues everywhere in your life. When you free yourself, you're always looking with different eyes, like, what can I do here in this challenge, in that challenge? And I like you to touch a little bit on the, like the knee pain that you talked about, like the inability to move forward, and you ask yourself, what can I do to move forward? When you're going through the, this healing journey and this transformation process, or whatever you want to call, we tend to hold on to that identity because it's safe. We know that, right? I know how to be angry. I know how to be, feel shame. And these are the one here that you're creating, you don't know. So it's scary because like the steps are not all laid out, so how do you help people to go from, A to B?
So just thinking about people that are angry, I found out that even through my own journey, thinking of, how angry I would be, it is actually so much stored hurt.
Yeah.
People actually are angry because they're hurting within. People that they attack you before you say anything, it's a fear. So there are so many different things, like, so it's not really what we show in the world or that mask of us that we show. There is always something behind. And I'm so grateful that through my own journey, again, as a learning lesson, that I learned so much about this. And I'll get back to what you did ask, but it's very important to I would really want to share this, that I've learned one thing, that when I see people, it's never to judge. And to say anything bad, regardless of their bad behaviors. It's always to ask yourself a question, and I do this with me all the time. I would love to know their story. I would love to know their story. And it's also very important to mention, if you are someone who feels angry or, tells yourself, well, I'm such a bad mom, I've done this, I've yelled at kids, or all of these things, separate behavior from yourself, because they're two different things. People come to me and say, well, I'm such a abuser or such a procrastinator. No, you're not abuser nor procrastinator. You have the habits of maybe some bad language, and you're sort of, verbally abusive, but let's separate that. So, and how do you go from, what is that? What was your question from?
Yes, from like, not like, being safe in that space, even though you are in pain, like physically, mentally, and emotionally, like, in my case, it was like the cancer, and I was angry. It's all
Mm.
You know, and how do you go, like I said, making a decision to go like, yeah, but I want to go somewhere else, but I don't know. I'm not sure because, you know, and you talked a little bit about the courage. I'm not sure about this, you know, like, you know, and the next step and what is going to happen. And
Yeah.
because you have to let go of your old identity.
Mm-hmm. I think, again, when you're desperate for something
Yeah.
better, I don't think that I really questioned myself much.
Yeah.
But when I felt, oh, it is okay, then you actually want to stay in that zone, because for me, being angry person, hurtful person was much easier than
Yes.
maybe being nice. Like, you have to be, you know, to put more effort maybe into being nicer and smile to everybody and
Being
invest
conscious.
yourself in other people. However, I would just love to share and say this: once you choose, once you decide to make a change, you cannot do on your own.
Yeah.
You need support. And once you have the support, once you look up to professionals, look up to people that they have been where you have been and they
Yeah.
created something different, then this is very important for everybody to remember. Trust the process.
Yeah.
If I come to you, if I have been diagnosed with cancer and I'm
Yeah.
thinking, okay, who are the survivors that they really now are living healthy and happy life? Okay, hi, it's Angelica. Okay, I'm actually going to her. Then I can't question. I can't. But are you sure is this good? Because you already have gone through that.
Yeah.
It worked. So why wouldn't it work for me? It would not work for me just if I say to myself, different story.
Yes.
So trust the process. Do not overthink.
Yeah.
And, you know, if you're choosing to do something, gaining the courage, then commit to it.
Yeah.
Commit to it.
Yeah, and I think what you said is so important. And part of like what we're talking about, you know, in the title of your book, You're Not Alone, is that, you know, people isolate themselves and they think that they have to figure everything out on their own. You know, I have had so many clients, and you probably have it as well, said, Angelica, I'm embarrassed because I can't figure this out on my own. And I'm like, we all get stuck at
You're
some.
not supposed to figure it out on your own. If
Yeah.
we are supposed to figure out things on our own, we would still be stuck at the same place. So
Yeah.
this is why I always encourage people, like, you know, work with professional, get the courage, get the health, professional. I actually had fitness trainers, nutritionists, dietitians. I had actually everybody around me, and I didn't even know how I'm actually going to pay these people, but I just knew that I had to have them. And I even worked with people. So trust me, I'll, come back with some money. I'll make it. I'll do it. But I know this is what I need. So when you know that you need something, you'll just do it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's taking that leap, isn't it? That the courage that you're talking about. Without courage, you are going to stay in that victim mentality, right? You are going to stay in that place.
One thing is that you have to ask yourself, if I do nothing, what is going to change?
Yeah.
But if I do something little, what are the possibilities that I can actually improve my life?
Yeah.
And for me, the biggest success, when people ask me, Billy, what is your biggest success? And, being entrepreneur and running my own company, and,
Yeah.
people always think, oh, she's going to say like, oh, she's, making this much money or living in this place or whatever. None of that.
Yeah.
None of, I mean, as much as to people is important, and it's important to everybody, my biggest success is my inner peace.
Yes.
That is my biggest success, because tomorrow something can happen. The house can be taken away.
Yeah.
Something can happen. Car can be taken away. But that inner peace
Mm.
in this noisy world, it's
Yeah.
something within you, something that you can still control and live with. And that
Yeah.
is part of you.
Yeah. It's
So
priceless. It's priceless.
priceless. And that
Yeah.
inner peace, it comes with forgiveness, it comes with letting go, it comes with rewriting your story, it comes with that self-compassion, it comes with creating that inner safety, changing
Yeah.
this up here, and really reaching out to people. You create that within.
And I think that's beautiful that you said. And I think, you are the ripple effect as well of what happens in your life, right? You have been married now Yes, for 5 years, right? Yes. You have an incredible relationship with your ex, the father of your daughter, which is incredible. I mean, all of those things are, after what you have been through, it's absolutely mind blowing. It's incredible. It's such, like I said, an achievement that, that if we talk about monetary results, it doesn't really, compare, right, to that.
Yeah.
Because, there is, you could have all the money in the world, but if, your relationships are broken.
Yeah.
Mm.
And everything that we do wherever we are right now, and you can sort of think, okay, this is my relationship. If you have children from ex partners,
Yeah.
husbands, wives, okay, what's my relationship with that person? Okay, what are my financial status? How is my circle of friends? What's my relationship with whatever you believe in? Am I present there? Everything is an extension of our self-belief.
Mm-hmm.
And as we just said before, once we go through some trauma, that self-belief actually molds us who we are, because we start believing different things.
Mm-hmm.
So for as long as I haven't adjusted my belief system,
Mm-hmm.
I have gone through toxic relationships.
Yeah.
I have been bad person,
Yeah.
not so loving and beautiful. And I also have been a bad partner.
Yeah.
You own your part, because you cannot be in such a toxic relationship without you
Yeah.
contributing. So this is the thing, we cannot just blame the other person. So there is actually a portion of yourself. Having a great relationship with my daughter,
Yes.
that is priceless.
Mm-hmm.
Not to say that we didn't have hiccups, certainly we do.
Yeah.
There are some days like I think, oh my gosh, really, is this,
Yeah.
but it's how quickly do you actually come to solving that
Mm-hmm.
hiccup in your life. So it's really reflection of your self-belief. It is where you're right now. If
Yes.
you're unhappy with your finances and how much you're making, what is your belief? Maybe you don't deserve it. Maybe you feel that you're not good enough.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you feel like I can't actually do anything better. That's our belief. But if you sort of switch that you can believe that you can deserve it, you can even change your career at any stage in your life, only if you believe so.
Mm-hmm.
So you can achieve anything if you put mind to it.
Yes, I totally agree. Um, and how, like the work that you're doing now, how did you, make the decision and the leap? I know you're working in corporate as well. To help people with such an important part of their lives, which is like the self-confidence and the self-esteem, which, that pretty much stops you from doing everything, right? Like if you don't have that, like the
Mm.
achieving the relationship that you want, the relationship with your kids or family or close people, and the financial, going after your dreams, it's all about, the core of it, right? The self-confidence and the self-esteem.
Yes. So I would always say that I never actually planned to do what I'm doing right now. I never said, like in my teens or early 20s or even early 30s, to say, hey, one day I actually would like to be a life strategist.
Yeah.
One day I actually would like to help men and women with, such a things. In fact, somebody came to my previous work, and my background is in a pharmaceutical world. And they said, well, you should be a life coach. And I said, oh, yeah, okay. And I went home and I researched what life coach is. I did not know. And this was maybe about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And because I was, even though back in the day, a decade ago, I was going through that pain. I think that's actually when my healing journey started.
Mm-hmm.
And I decided to, get rid of, my addictions and everything. So I never really planned to do what I'm doing right now, but I felt the
The calling.
the the calling, and I feel like, why wouldn't I share
Mm-hmm.
what I really walked through doing my research while maybe writing my journal and book and everything, and maybe looking, for me, I actually go out and always look at the kids. Are they good? Are they smiling? Like I have that, or teenagers, I'm really
Yeah.
drawn to just make sure, are they okay? You don't know. And then I thought, okay, I'm actually giving all this advice. I walked through something. I'm actually feeling better. I'm feeling that inner peace. Why wouldn't I share that with people that maybe they do need?
Yes.
And that's how I sort of, started to work, or to do what I'm doing right now. Not necessarily that I started with where I'm right now. I did actually start, and the journey starts over your period of time, or over the years. You sort of change, you grow as more as you evolve. You sort of evolve with your clients and everything. So, and the core thing is, in anything, it is your self-worth.
Yeah.
If you don't have a self-worth,
Mm-hmm.
you will end up in the bad and toxic relationships. If you don't have self-worth, you will settle for any type of work. If you don't have self-worth, you will just say, hey, it's okay, whatever, you're not all the time. People will make choices for you. People will write their book for you. They will write the chapters of your life, because you will just say, oh yeah, it's okay, it's okay. So that's when I felt, okay, I can actually contribute my knowledge, my journey, to these amazing people. And if you sort of looked into it, in your self-worth, once you start building that self-worth, hey, you're good to go. You'll fly.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it is definitely, like you're saying, is at the core of all areas of your life. Sitting at the at the core of a life that you can build or not, right?
Correct.
Depending on the decisions that you make on a day-to-day basis.
Correct. And even like, people, they do know me, like, oh, they will even say like, oh, confidence coach. Confidence is such a broad thing.
Yeah.
It's such a broad thing. And, you don't have to be confident with everything and anything.
Yeah.
Some certain things that are irrelevant to us, you don't need to work on that confidence. But, for me, it was actually very important to work on my self-worth and self-esteem, and to be that confident coach, confident speaker, confident life strategist, to get up on the stage and teach something to, so for me, that was very important. If you don't need to be that, confident speaker, don't go there. But if you need to be a confident mom and confident dad and confident to go on your first meet up on, in your relationship, perfectly fine, work on that.
Yeah.
Work whatever that is in your area. So I personally don't believe that there's people that are just confident in all areas. There is always something that you're not so sure, and that is okay.
Yeah.
You can't be good at everything.
Yes, for sure. Yes, for sure.
And you know what? Confidence, it's, willingness to be uncomfortable. Get there and be uncomfortable, and you can practice. Confidence is practice.
Yeah.
Practice it whatever you need, and it's accessible to everybody.
Yes. Yes, exactly. I think, like I said, you can change anything that you set your mind to it. If that is your goal, to be confident in public speaking, or to be confident in being a leader or a different mother, like whatever you make that decision, is just making the decision and taking the steps to get there, right? And I think making a decision, like I said, is the most important thing.
Make the decision, whatever it is. Whatever it is, changing your job, getting out of your toxic relationship, whatever it is, make a decision. Make a decision, get a support, gain that courage to execute it, commit to it, and just follow through.
Yeah, and I love that saying that Mel Robbins says, like, no one is coming, and that's the reality of it, right? Like, no one is coming. So if you want to write the own chapters of your own life, you've got to make that decision for sure.
Correct.
So now tell us about the work that you do and the people that you help, so people can reach out to you, and if they, really feel like this is my time, like I am making that decision.
Well, the work that I do, it's really empowering entrepreneurs, people in business, leaders, that really to stand out, show up, and become the best person that they can be in whatever area they are in, to really bloom and shine. I so believe that you really need to stand up and in your own power, in your own truth, and use that authenticity, whoever you are, in any area that you are. For beautiful moms, to really like, hey, I am mom. And when mom say I'm just the mom, no, you're not just the mom, you're amazing, beautiful person, and you do many things. So it's really to enhance that confidence and self-esteem and work on that self-worth. So wherever you can actually use that in your journey.
Amazing, amazing.
Yeah.
And how can people reach out to you?
There are so many ways.
Ah,
Well, number one, they can actually come through Amazing You to
yes,
reach
I'm
to
gonna
me.
add the details below anyway, but just
Yeah. But one thing that I would love to share, if people would love to hear more about tips and strategies on how to really improve your life personally and professionally, to really build that inner boss within yourself, it's really to tune into my Boss Confidence podcast. I
yeah,
think that's a great way to start, because anyone that actually goes there, they'll sort of give us a little feedback to say, what that does for them. And I
yeah,
think that's my mission, to really support people in a different journeys in their life, on a different pathways, to really build that inner boss. Since I'm boss Billy Boss, so
and I love
it's
that.
really building that inner boss within yourself.
Yeah,
It's you that it matters, and then your confidence can actually be spread in other areas of your life, and that is reflection. The way how we feel within, it is reflection of our outer world. So yes, I think that would be a great way to start on the Boss Confidence podcast.
awesome. I'll add the details, but you're on Instagram, you're like on Facebook, and your website is beautiful. And I'm gonna add the podcast details as well. I love the name Billy Boss. I mean, you can't get any better than that, right?
Well, I think that I shared this with you, but when I started this journey a while ago now, maybe 7 years ago, I'm actually in touch with that coach day to day. And in fact, my husband is coached by him. And then he said, Billy, nothing is good in your business but the name. Keep the name and
Yeah,
make restructure everything else. And that's what I did. And
yeah.
that's what I did. So I did go and, I did what he did say to me to do, and I kept my name. So it actually serves me well.
It does. It does. Well, thank you so much for being here. The work that you're doing is incredible. You are an amazing, amazing, amazing woman. I am so proud of you, and I'm so happy that we got connected. Your mission is very, very important. I'm very, very proud of you that you've decided to come to the world, come out as your authentic version, because a lot of
Okay.
people need to hear your message. What you have done, it's not for the faint-hearted. Like, there is a lot of people that need your help and need to hear your story and need to see, like I said, what's possible. And I think that what you said a little earlier, for me, it was very important just to spend time around people. And when I say that, it's not necessarily physically, but who had conquered what I
Mhm.
wanted to have conquered, at the time, was the cancer. And this is why I conquered, cancer. And I think, like, to conquer a lifetime of trauma and abuse, I think that is absolutely incredible to be an example and a leader for that in the world today.
Thank you so much. And let me tell you how awesome you are. Thank you for having me here. And I think, both of us, we can really learn from each other.
Yeah.
So many, many things as we have. And you also have been guest that on my podcast as well. So thank you for having me here and sharing this message. And in the best hope that
Yeah.
whoever is listening, they can take at least one thing away to apply today and to really start moving forward. So I'm very, very grateful. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Beautiful.